Hello, and thank you for the opportunity to be here. I'm Lukas Wirsching, and I'm from ART+COM. Today I will be talking about a research project in which we try to explore proximity, despite distance. We try to create closeness over distance. So ART+COM works in the intersection of research, art, and communication. And it's using new technologies and interactivity in spatial communication. Research for us is a way to create critical understanding of new technologies. So we don't follow the hype usually. We try to really create concrete understanding of what we can use potentially the technologies for. Art in public space is a playground for us through which we can create our own sort of aesthetic and also investigate the more formal qualities of media. And these two things then feed into the last field, communication, creating exhibitions, showrooms, and museums. So to start today's journey, I would like to jump a little bit back in time to the point in time where this research project came into place. So 2021, I guess you all remember, was very defined by the pandemic. Lockdowns, contact bans, closed public spaces. So in general, seeing other people was really difficult. And while we had technologies to connect us, to use, to get in touch with another, I think everybody got a pretty good feeling of what the actual qualities of analog physical contact were and what we were lacking through these tools. So personally back then, I was writing my thesis in this time, and I tried to focus exactly on this question, exploring how to feel close in digital space. I was thinking a lot about and reading a lot about the concepts of Edward Twitchell Hall, which basically explained how we use space to socialize and how we move in space. So he came up with these different spheres around us that explain, on the one way, what kind of possibilities in a social sense are created when we take certain distances to another, but also the other way around. Social situations required a certain kind of distance that we have to, that we kind of automatically create when we are in contact with another. And my question then was basically, how can we transfer this to digital spheres? How can we create a situation where we can get close to other people in digital platforms, like literally like a situation where you can bump into another person? How can that happen in digital environments? And one of my creative outcomes back then, so I did a lot of web experiments, and one of the creative outcomes was this one, a browser extension which would generate a little like a fly, metaphorical fly that you could then scare off your screen. So it would appear on your screen and you could scare it off, and it would then reappear on somebody else's screen that would have this browser extension also installed. So you would have this subtle connection there, this kind of visualization of the distance that is there between the participants, because you knew if you scare it away, it will jump to another person, and if it appears on your screen, it must have been scared off by somebody else. I then had the opportunity to continue this thinking in the research project Nuform, which was also started in the beginning of 2021, at least for me, it was planned a little bit earlier. ART+COM and the Natural History Museum in Berlin had written a grant together, which originated very much also in this context of the pandemic. So we started basically, oh, it jumped one, I'm sorry for that. Yeah, or I didn't. Okay, then I continue there. So when museums had to close down, the Natural History Museum in Berlin was also really interested in creating alternative access points. So they started really early trying out alternative ways like this pre-recorded tour or a live tour that is not live or not playing right now. But, wait, I'll go back so that it's playing a little bit. Sorry for this again. All right, there we go. So this is the status quo that we took basically, and we tried to continue from there, asking how can we create something that is less linear, less distant basically. How can we have something that is, that feels closer, that feels more like you're actually being there. So we started really broad, asking a lot of questions, collecting them about how what the potential of digital or hybrid museums could be, about new ways of participations, and about the transferability of the qualities of a traditional space. And we felt that this kind of old school mindset of digitalization, of simply transferring one thing to the other, like analog signals to digital signals, or a physical object converting to a digital artifact, or putting both together so that it becomes some kind of metadata enriched digitalizat or copy, was actually already pretty set. It was kind of well explored for us. We knew the technical challenges, and it was also pretty clear how we could use these things conceptually for storytelling. But what was not clear for us was how we could create a more multi-layered approach, an access point where we could mix all the different areas that could be used as an entry point, like on-site, online, on-site, off-site, or simply museum everywhere else. So this became our mission. We asked ourselves, or we set the goal to create new kinds of access, enable participation, and encourage dialogue. And I will now show a short video that kind of acts like a summary of what we came up with after a long period of prototyping phase, and I hope you will get an understanding of what we created.
Welcome to Natural History Museum here in Berlin. If I wanted to give you a remote tour, what options would I have? The status quo is video stream, and you lay back and listen. In new form, a research project triggered by the social isolation and COVID times, we looked at new ways of connectivity, bringing qualities of the physical into the digital visit.
Yeah, let me show you our first prototype. So you're now seeing the world in 360 degrees through a browser window, and you can look around freely. And while you're looking around, I can see where you're looking at, because I'm getting little indicators here. And I can tell right now that you are interested in this gigantic dragonfly, so maybe let's bring you closer a little bit. How's that? So while we're moving around the museum, you can freely look around. And this is something that becomes even more interesting if there are more visitors.
Hallo.
Hi. You can see these white circles on your screen. This is where people are looking at right now. We try to use these gazes to create a certain kind of presence amongst the participants.
And we found this as a kind of elegant combination where the freedom to look around is combined with nonverbal communication cues within the group, a new kind of connection. But you still stuck to move with the camera. What if this was not the case and you could move freely?
And this is exactly what you can do with this next prototype. You can detach from this live camera and walk through a pre-recorded 3D space. So let's try to do exactly this and meet Jussi over there next to the Brachiosaurus.
So this LiDAR scan was done already a couple of years back, which is fine when the space is not changing so much, because it needs to be in sync with the live experience in space. So, well done, you made it into this bubble. Now let's look at the next step. We tried something to create a real-time 3D capture together with the live connection as a social experiment.
Yeah, exactly. We can just show you right away what we're talking about. So as you see, I'm scanning as I go, creating an instant 3D space that you can walk around in. And at the same time, you can see a live video stream on the device itself. And to get a better view, you can also simply fly along.
So this live video stream is now extended with the spatial peripheral view, a little bit like how the visual cortex works, making sense of the physical space.
And as you can see, there are also avatars now. They're in 3D. And we can also see them in space through our device.
So until now, we've brought the digital visitor into the physical space. We went one step further, looked at ways of bringing the digital for real in the physical. The next prototype, we created a bridge that lets the digital participant have physical presence in space.
Yeah, here it is. It's a slider on top of a historical mineral case, and it has a screen, it has a motor inside and a camera, and you can use it to get a better glimpse at the minerals. But most importantly, there's a website that lets you remote control this. Yeah.
So when a digital participant joins in, there's a physical connection with somebody at the museum. You could think of it like as a handshake, or maybe a dance where one or the other takes a lead and there's a collective experience in space. So these were some examples of how to think about hybrid space. Of course, this is nothing new for ART+COM. It was founded in this intersection of physical and digital. But what this research project is bringing new is a focus on the empowering the communication, not crafting the story in the space. With modern technologies and with this kind of a hybrid mindset, I think we can find a new form of communication.
Okay, so what you just saw was actually 3 separate prototypes that we focused on. We tested them extensively and we iterated on them as well. As you can see here at the Viking Museum in Jelling, where we tested also a new feature where you can, as the guide, you can trigger pre-recorded content that belongs to the space in a way, and you can show this in real time to the remote visitors as well, and bring it into your narrative. So one of our big strategies was giving visitors more autonomy. So instead of sitting back, you would actually have to take part, and you could actively choose what you look at, or as in this prototype, where you go to, and you can take this into your own hands and choose on your own terms. And by doing this, we could then also take these movement data, or just the information, this kind of interactive noise, so to say, and make it visible. And by doing this, we could create an atmosphere, a certain feel for presence, that would also provide the feeling that you actually are there in a room with other people. And we did this also because we learned pretty early on that too direct communication, too direct contact often had the opposite effect. So like the awkward silence in a Zoom call or something like this. There seems to be a more, a bigger skepticism, especially in the digital towards strangers or people that you do not know. We also, another way that we approached this was also to create an onboarding waiting room where people could then get to know each other before the tour was starting, just to break the ice before. So more moments of participation or interactions helped the experience, but also it required relearning of how to do a tour or learning of the new tools, of how to use them actually. Because especially the guides seem to have very well thought of tour plans that they would stick to, and it would greatly, they would greatly benefit from playing a little bit around, trying to be very open with these new tools, try out things, as you can see here, where they just went into the bushes, rather than sticking to a more linear script. So to sum it up, I would say that we see a strong potential in intricately interconnecting these both layers, the digital and the analog, and also in contrast to this metaversical way, you could say, that is trying to replace the physical with the digital. What we see more valuable is basing the digital onto a physical layer. So to say you give it a context in the physical, and by doing that, both worlds increase in value in the experience. And while the first two prototypes that I was showing act more as a tool, this could also be done with a more concrete focus on content or a situation or a specific place in a museum, as you could see with this one that is on screen right now, where we try to really take something that existed in the space and make it accessible in both ways in an authentic way, where both parties had an interactive layer that they could get in touch with. So as the last little shout out, I would like to say that we now have these tools and they're working. They're pretty quick to set up, so if you're interested in testing them, send me an email or talk to me. We're still really eager to apply them in different kinds of scenarios and put them into different kinds of worlds. Thank you very much for listening.